Sitting down with Lights Out Chris Lytle. How you feeling, Chris?
Feeling great.
That's awesome, man. You just went through 3 seminars, man, in 2 days, man.
It was a great experience. I was really fortunate that you know, the places I went, everybody had a great attitude, and they were thirsty for knowledge, you know, which is you know, refreshing. Sometimes you go places and people kind of act a little smug, but pretty knew that. Good for you, buddy. But you know, everybody's real polite and real good, and I just had a great time. I hope people enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely did. Now, how did you get started in martial arts?
Man, just basically, I had friends who had been starting to get into it, and I had a good wrestling background. Everybody knew I wrestled in high school. I had a lot of success in wrestling, and a lot of my friends who had been on the wrestling team said, "Hey, look, we're doing this." They called it shoot fighting then. You know, it was just like basically submission fighting, and not even really punches or anything. And I started going there, and I started having success, and I went to a fight, and I watched the fight, and immediately, I mean, my competitive nature took over, and I said, I could beat these guys, man. I mean, I could beat all these guys. There's no way. Just from rolling for 2 or 3 weeks, I knew I could beat these guys. They weren't that good.
Right.
So you know, I'm just ultra competitive in everything I do. My kids, I'm playing cards with them. I'm beating them. My wife's like, let them win. I'm like, I'm not letting them do anything. They have to win. I'm competitive, and it took over and it made me start competing, and I got addicted to the feeling of winning, and that's how it is.
What was high school like for you, and did you end up going to college after that?
High school was good for me. Like I said, I was into wrestling, and I had a lot of success in wrestling, and you know, a lot of people knew me as a wrestler. So you know, I had I had a good time in high school. I had a lot of good friends. You know, partied a little too much, things like that, which led me to college. I said, I don't want to get a real job, so college. Went to Indiana University, was there. I didn't train at all. Didn't do any training. I wrestled a little bit, but I didn't even start training until immediately when I got to college is when I first moved back to Indianapolis. That's when I found my friends who I knew from.
Nice. What were your impressions of the UFC, and which one did you see first?
I think the first time I remember seeing the UFC was when Royce Gracie fought, I think Dan Severn.
Okay.
That was the first one I really remember, when I remember thinking, there's no way this little dude's going to beat that big guy. That big guy was tossing people around. There's a big wrestler, slamming them on their neck. It's like, oh, beating the crap out of people. Like, he's going to kill this little guy. Little guy won. I was like, what just happened? You know, I was like, man, a bad dude. I wouldn't want to fight that guy. You know, I just kind of left it at that for a few years, you know. It wasn't, nothing was going on in Indianapolis. I didn't know anything. I didn't understand what he was doing. I knew he wore a gi. I thought he was a karate guy or something. I didn't know. Until I got out of college, I went back to Indianapolis, and they said, hey, we're doing this fight. It's kind of like wrestling. You should try it. You'd be good. And I was like, all right. That's when I tried it.
Now, were you like an instant fan of UFC, and did you follow it after that?
Yeah, well, because I was into it then, because I started doing it. And once I started doing it, and I'm kind of, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I like to do things that I'm good at. Like I was good at that right away. I had success, and I was beating guys who've been at it longer than me, and I liked that. And so then I got to use, like, okay, college, I got a guitar. I was like, I'm going to learn how to play guitar. Tried to play, and my fingers don't work. So I tried for like a week. I was like, I suck. This is stupid, you know. So I quit playing. I never played the guitar. Like I wasn't naturally good at it. I didn't like it. For some reason, I was naturally good at this. I gravitated towards it, and I continued to do it, and I had success in it. So I liked it. So.
Now, you were a student of Western boxing. What promoted you to develop your stand-up?
What happened was I started my groundwork. And I was having success in it, you know, and I started fighting in bigger fights. I started fighting in Japan. I started fighting in you know, big fights around here, around America. And then I figured my ground game was really good. And I was like, my stand-up is all right, but I mean, it's nothing special. It's like, I need to learn more about stand-up. Right. And a boxing guy, Keith Ballmer, a gym, you know, and teaching some of the guys boxing, getting a boxing fight. So I was like, you know what? I want to learn several aspects. I don't want to be one-dimensional. Right. And I started going to Keith, and he, like within like a month and a half, about 6 weeks in, he said, "Hey, you know, I got a boxing match for you on an ESPN card if you want to take it." And I was like, man, I never even thought about fighting pro boxing. I was just doing it to help out. I'd go there once or twice a week. Right. It was like, well, you know, it's like like, I don't know. I don't know if you win. This guy's pretty good, but I mean, they asked me to fight a tough guy for him to fight, and I don't know how good you're going to box, but you're going to be a tough guy. You know, you'll go in there and fight. You know, it's going to be a good fight. I might put on TV. So I'm like, all right. I went there and fought, and I ended up getting a draw out of my first fight. I think I had like 50 amateur fights and a couple pro fights, and it was just my first pro fight. So, and it was in his hometown, so I felt like a draw was pretty good. And
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed the boxing after that. You know, I got in, I spent hours and hours and rounds in there, just continuing to improve.